My name is Jeremy Paltiel. I'm a professor of political science at Carleton University in Ottawa. I've been working on China, with China now for 47 years, about the same length of time that Canada and China have had diplomatic relations. And I was in the second group of Canadian students who went to China after the establishment of the scholarly exchange in 1973. I went to China in October of 1974. I actually was interested in China from an early age. In general, in Chinese fairy tales and stories, and then later as a teenager I became more interested in contemporary Chinese politics, in the revolutionary period. Actually, I knew I wanted to study Chinese at some point, and I knew I wanted to study about China. The first group of Chinese students who came to Canada came in 1973, and they were actually in residence in my university, in the University of Toronto, in the same residence at Trinity College. So I met some of the Chinese students who came in the first group before I myself was accepted on exchange. So when I graduated from university in 1974, I immediately applied to the scholarly exchange. I also applied to grad school, and I also wrote the Foreign Service examination. And I got accepted into all three, but my choice was to go to China because that was my passion, if you like. And so I began my adventure in going to China in 1974. In many ways, we were lucky because we were in some ways more exposed to Chinese society than most other foreigners. We had Chinese roommates. As part of the Cultural Revolution experience, we would go out to the factory and we would go out to the commune. But the personal relationships were varied because we knew that our roommates would have to report on their experiences with us. And so I think depending on who you were with, how close you could get to Chinese people depended. My closest friends among the Chinese people at the time came when I was the member of the Beijing University swim team. And because, of course, the members of the swim team were not people who were assigned to us as roommates. We were going through the same experience together. And that was quite exciting. And some of those people have become, in some ways, more lifelong friends. Many people think, oh, it must have been very difficult. I mean, the Chinese government was trying very hard to take care of us as best they could. They tried to make sure that everyone had Western food, that we had a larger food allotment than most Chinese, a much larger food. Our food was much better than the food that the Chinese students got. Although in many cases later, certainly at Beijing University, we lobbied hard and tried to eat in the Chinese students' cafeteria because we wanted to be closer to our fellow Chinese. But it was quite clear that our food was better. There were limits on the amount of hot water we had for showers. They would be available only certain hours a week. So these were things you had to get used to. But if we were going to China in 1974, you would be expecting things like this. I mean, and we were young. It was not, we were not forced to go there. We chose to go there. And so I would say that nothing I experienced in China for over those 2 years would be considered a hardship. It was actually an important experience because it allowed me at least to digest and reflect on my experience in China, try to understand it better. I guess you could say that this was a key point in maintaining a kind of lifelong passion. And I have to say that in the 47 years or so that I've been studying China, China has never ceased to fascinate me and has never ceased to change. So it's not like I'm studying the same thing. For 47 years, I'm studying an object that keeps changing. And yet, and there's always more to learn. I mean, that's the other thing. Although I was interested in both contemporary and traditional China. And so, what's been going on currently has always been of interest to me. But I also knew that I was trying to learn another civilization. And no matter how much I learned, there was always more to learn. And so that, I know that no matter how long I live, I won't actually reach the bottom of what it means to understand China. I've just been doing conducting research on Canadian studies in China. And certainly I know that many of the Chinese scholars who work on Canada have been part of the Canada-China Scholarly Exchange in different ways, or different other kinds of exchanges. So I think it's an important and positive program, and it does continue to develop relations. I mean, obviously I'm an example, right? And I'm not the only one.